Hello.
Hey.
So I got bad news.
Aw. What's your bad news?
We got to shut down, man.
Damn. All right. What happened? Was it, what did we do? Did we get hauled in by the FBI or?
No, it's just we're both homeowners now. So we're both too in the system, I think.
Yeah, but like Engels owned a straight up factory, you know?
Oh, shit. I didn't know that.
Yeah, he was kind of the finance behind Marx was always kind of a bum, but Engels, his best bro, he was a straight up factory owner.
He was somebody's boss?
I mean, yeah, I think he like tried to be nice or something, but he was a factory owner. Like,
Gross.
yeah.
Okay, I don't feel as bad anymore. Fuck it.
No, dude, there's no ethical consumption in capitalism.
It's true.
Or ethical means of having a home. I don't know. Don't feel that bad about it. Everyone does shitty things.
Okay, that's true. I really like my house, and my recording setup is better and worse at the same time because this room is so fucking empty that I have to like put up blankets so I don't echo.
I love your house too. It's cool.
Thank you.
It's super awesome. And you have so much room. But yeah, I guess we do have to give up the communist mantle now.
Yeah.
We're not bourgeoisie, but
We're pretty close.
I mean, you can't be like, you have to be materialist about it. So you have to say, how do you make your living? Is it from, in some way, selling your labor or not?
Oh, okay. So I sell my labor.
And if you're selling your labor, then you don't own the means of production. So regardless of if you owned a mansion, if you were still drawing a wage from someplace,
Oh, okay, good. Whew.
you'd still be in the proletariat.
That was a close one.
Yeah. I mean, if you tell that to like a blue collar worker, they're going to, tell you to fuck off. But
That's okay.
technically, you're still in the proletariat.
Okay, good. Now that we are clear to go, what are we learning about today?
Today, we're going to be learning about the early history of leftist parties or like kind of socialist or communist parties in the United States.
Hell yeah.
We kind of mentioned this in our listener Q&A episode when one of our listeners asked about how it seems that the left in America kind of draws on a lot of Soviet imagery and kind of things get presented as anything socialist or communist gets kind of presented as sort of Russian influenced or foreign influenced.
We kind of piggyback off of that.
So yeah, we want to kind of explore instead how far back did those roots go and what can we say about the American tradition of leftism.
Hell yeah. That sounds great because I think most people don't realize that there is an American tradition of leftism. So yes, let's get into it.
All right, let's get into it. So a few themes to kind of keep in mind as we're going through this, because like we said, we're only covering the early stuff right now. We'll get into our dividing line is going to be the Russian Revolution because the parties in America also kind of change after that. It's World War I also.
Yeah.
It's the same time area, but that's a good dividing line.
Okay. We can always come back.
Yeah, and we're going to be revisiting some of the same characters in our next part too.
Cool.
They don't just all die in 1917 and
Then everyone's
start
done.
over.
Then a meteor hits.
Yeah, so some themes in this early part are going to be, one, of course, is that it's old, as you'll see by the dates that we're talking about here.
Old.
Like, this is talking about stuff from when Marx was still alive.
Okay.
Or like in the 1850s.
That's pretty old.
Yeah, so like this has been around a long time. It is, like we said, we're focusing on the United States here. All right, so one thing is that while a lot of the groups that we'll talk about do have a lot of like recent immigrants taking part in it, it's still like American grown.
Okay.
And it's something that will run counter to that idea, like we were saying, of it being some sort of a Russian import or anything like that. It is possible to do here and to pursue here. And another, I guess, to keep in mind is that these parties will see some of what they tried to do and some of what they actually accomplished.
Okay.
We'll see some of their goals and stuff and be like, man, I wish we could still do that today. Obviously they didn't get that done, but some of them will be like, oh, cool. They were, in that fight.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so you want to start from the top?
Let's do it.
All right, so we're going to start a little bit before we actually have the political parties.
Okay.
Maybe that's an important distinction to make too, is we're not going to be focused on like labor unions or just social organizations too much in this one. We'll mention a little bit of them because they're vital in this process.
Yeah, they're part of the story.
Yeah, but we're talking mainly about the political parties here.
Okay.
But going back to before that, I suppose, you had utopian socialist communities
Hell yeah.
in the United States.
Oof, sounds nice.
Well, kinda.
Uh-oh.
They're kinda nice.
Problematic.
Yeah, well, if you remember in the manifesto, Marx had a lot of shit to talk about these guys.
Oh, yeah, I remember he did smack talk them.
Yeah, he didn't have a lot of use for utopian socialists. And actually, utopian socialists didn't call themselves that. That was the mean nickname that Marx and his friends gave to them.
Oh, what do they call themselves?
They just would call themselves socialists and stuff.
Okay.
But Marx was like, you guys are loser utopian socialists.
Okay, why were they losers?
The difference here is basically that the utopian socialists they were kind of dreamers. They had these ideas that like, oh, we're going to make society great. We're going to make it like this. It's going to be awesome. Everyone's going to love it. Let's figure out how we can get there.
Okay.
Right? And Marx and materialist socialists, or scientific socialists is how they would describe themselves.
Interesting.
Yeah, they take a look at history and say this is how it has developed, right? Like we were looking at the manifesto and it's like this is how history is developed.
Yeah. All those stages.
Yeah. And so those conflicts are eventually going to, reach a crisis point, and then people are going to develop that into a new thing because of the material conditions.
Okay.
So not because of like, I'm Marx and I like these cool things, let's go do them, but because this is what history is leading us to.
Okay, so Marx saw it more as like an inevitable thing, whereas these people were like, I'm going to go start my own Animal Crossing island.
Yeah, kind of.
Okay.
That's pretty much it. I always kind of struggle with the inevitable part because it makes me think like, why don't I just sit on my ass then if it's just going to happen?
Yeah, I was going to say that. It feels a little lazy, which I'm all for laziness.
But the way Marx looked at it and scientific socialists of his stripe look at it, it's only inevitable because people, the argument is that people will go do these things because of the social forces at play.
Okay.
So it does still depend on if everyone decides I'm just going to hang out, then it won't actually happen. And I think we may be in the hell world that was produced by people in the past doing that.
I was going to say, it feels like, everyone has made this decision to chill, which I get, but also, damn.
Yeah. But the utopian socialists were people who really didn't, they didn't so much take a look at historical stages and say, oh, this should develop into this next stage. They were just like, how should it run? Yeah, let's go do that.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool in its own way.
I like it.
But yeah, some of the prominent names there were Robert Owen, Charles Fourier, Etienne Cabet, and lots of people actually. I can't list them all, but
Those are the big players.
those are some of them. There's also Henry de Saint-Simon, someone from France. And there's a lot of others, but those are some of the utopian socialists and stuff.
Okay.
They formed, like followers of theirs rather, formed communities out in the West, or out in the countryside pretty much, of the United States.
Okay.
Some of the settlements included Brook Farm, New Harmony, the Amana colonies, the Oneida community, the Icarans, the Bishop Hill commune.
Icarans is in like Icarus?
Yeah, as in Icarus. Not like
That
the
seems
greatest.
like we're gonna fuck up.
You're dooming yourself to it.
Yeah, a little bit. At least I guess if you know you have hubris, then maybe you're better off, but still.
I mean, it's called the Icarian movement, which has got to be
Still.
named after Icarus, right?
It's gotta be.
But yeah, some of these are pretty interesting, but they all eventually fail. They typically run into a problem when like their main building burns down.
Ooh, okay.
I guess fire was a more common problem to have back then. A lot of times they had community buildings and shit. And so if that went down and you were already like struggling to make ends meet, that's it. You're done.
It's kind of all over.
So yeah, there were some of those that kind of inspired people to start thinking in proto-socialist or socialist terms.
Yeah. So there are just these communities where like, hey, let's all chill and be nice to each other kind of thing.
Yeah. This one guy, Cabot, started a colony in Texas, in Denton.
I love Denton.
They were supposed to settle in the Red River Valley, but their deed was like way off, and they got
Yeah.
And when they showed up, it was like, actually, your land's going to be over in Denton.
Hell yeah. Go Eagles.
And it was way less land than they were intending to get. And I think they end up running into a lot of problems there. It doesn't turn out well for them. But yeah, these are kind of some of the earliest experiments, I guess, in socialism that you see in the United States. You also had anarchists doing some of this as well.
I like this.
Yeah, our last real dabbling in just anarchism was we're talking about Emma Goldman.
Hell yeah.
Who was cool. We
5 stars.
Yeah, totally cool. We talked about her kind of experience with like propaganda of the deed and labor agitation and stuff. But before that, there was a guy named Josiah Warren.
Okay.
Josiah Warren he didn't describe himself as an anarchist, but he's considered now to be America's first prominent like anarchist thinker.
Okay.
And he was more individualist. He wasn't capitalist, but he was like, society, man, you can't tell me what to do, classic.
Okay, that more on that side.
Yeah. He was, born in 1798, kind of did his stuff in the 1820s and 1830s. He was interesting, I think, for his naming prowess. He was really good at naming things.
Okay, lay some names on me.
All right, so for one thing that he did was start a store in downtown Cincinnati.
Okay.
Called the Cincinnati Time Store.
Okay, wait. Does that mean they sell time? Like the herb or the concept or clocks?
No, so it's spelled time like minutes on a clock.
Okay.
And I guess it didn't so much sell time as much as exchange time for things.
Sorry, what?
So his whole his big thing about what he was trying to experiment with here was called the cost the limit of price.
Okay.
All right. Basically he was tired of people ripping people off. So he wanted to set up a store, and this became the Cincinnati Time Store, where everything that you bought and sold there was traded. You exchanged notes, like pieces of paper, that were backed by a promise to perform labor.
Okay.
So time, like labor vouchers, basically.
Oh, okay. So let's come up with a scenario.
All right.
Is this for services? Like you'd go in and be like, I need to get something repaired?
Nah, this is for like a broom or a whatever that you're buying, like some tobacco or
Okay.
a new farmer's hat. I was just trying to come up with some agrarian stuff, I guess.
You'd go in and be like, I want a new hat. Can I work for that hat?
You would sell something or, buy it with something else, like with those vouchers if you already had them, or sell some to get that, or trade or whatever. The labor voucher note kind of. And the other thing that he did here was that all the things in the store were sold for the price of whatever the merchant paid for them, plus like a fixed percentage to cover like the overkeep of the store.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Like what is it? The overhead?
Overhead.
Yeah, the overhead. So he was basically like, let's do fair prices and let's have good money that is honest, I guess, instead of like backed by gold or commodities.
That's real fucking weird, I gotta say. That sounds really complicated.
It does. It doesn't sound like it would work, but apparently it didn't fail. It was only around for like 3 years before he closed the store and decided to go do something else, like founding colonies and stuff. Going and setting up his own communities.
Like you do.
Yeah, he got tired of it, and he was like, this is fun, but I'm going to go. It'd be like if Timmy and Tommy went and started their own
island. Yes.
Yeah.
I would go there.
That was Josiah Warren. You can picture him with his little outfit in Josiah Warren's cranny.
Oh, he needs a brother, though, that repeats everything he says.
Yeah, I guess he could have Joshua, or he's Josiah, so Joshua
There
would
you
work,
go, yeah.
So he also, like we said, he quit that and went to go start a community called, another great name here, it was called, the name of the town, 2 words, Modern Times.
This guy loved time.
Modern Times. Yeah, I guess that was his theme. Modern Times.
I looked up a picture of him. He looks crazy.
He does, doesn't he?
He looks like Lincoln if he were like trapped in a cave or something. I don't know.
He comes out years later.
His beard game is pretty crazy.
Modern Times was a utopian anarchist community.
Okay.
There was no government, no laws, no police force.
Fuck yeah.
It was just, let's live out here.
How'd that go?
It went well for a while. They didn't have crime or violence during their 13-year history.
Cool.
So that was good.
That's good because, most people when they, hear about even communist communities, but anarchist communities especially, they're just like, well, what happens if someone brings a gun and just shoots everybody?
Yeah, I mean, that's the classic, without police, the city would tear itself apart.
Yes,
line
exactly.
from RoboCop. I feel like I see the world through a lens of RoboCop now after our conversation on that.
You have your CCTV visor on with the really bad lines across it.
Yep.
Ugh.
So Modern Times, no, it eventually didn't work, basically, because this labor voucher system that he kept going for this town, it just didn't work very well. A lot of residents had to go like work in other towns to get money to buy shit that they could, that they needed.
That sucks.
Eventually, it changes its name to it becomes a normal ass town. It becomes like Brentwood, New York.
Brentwood,
which is just like a normal place.
Yeah, that's not as good as a name.
It's boring after that.
Boo.
But yeah, no, those are some of the kind of early experiments, and I guess Americans' first exposure to socialist, communist, anarchist ideas are through these sorts of things. And I guess it's not a great example to start out with. They're the crazy folks that want to go out there, try some crazy scheme, and they have to come back, a decade later because it fails.
In a way, it makes me feel better because I feel like once a week I'm just like, fuck, I just want to live in a commune with my friends. And I'm like, maybe I'm like, so like on a macro level, that was their first thought. Mm-hmm. On an individual level, that's my first thought.
Yeah, and they did it. They made the mistake so you don't have to.
Yeah.
Is that it doesn't work that. But now it's not to say that there aren't like commune or planned communities like this out there that are doing things,
Yeah.
And trying to live in a way that better conforms to their values, I suppose. I don't want to shit on that and say it's terrible. It doesn't seem like it's something that's more widely applicable to society overall.
Do you think it's just because it's kind of like they skipped the revolution part and went straight to utopia? Do you think that's the problem? Or do you think it's because, we talk about this a lot too, where if you're just a small commune and the rest of society around you is still capitalist, like shit's going to be hard.
That's the main thing, I think, is that you are a very small island in a sea of capitalism. We don't realize how much we depend on the capitalist mode of production to keep us alive.
Yeah.
Because it's the only game here.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons that people say there's no ethical consumption under capitalism, like we mentioned before, is you got to live, man. And you can't just, it's the stupid critique of like, oh, you're posting about leftism on an iPhone. Oh. Yeah, man, that's like what I got.
Yeah, yeah.
The revolution part, I think there's the chance for a reformist path. Mm-hmm. It could work.
I feel like we don't have time for it anymore, but sure. If it had happened like 20, 30 years ago, I'd be like, yeah, maybe. But like,
we're out of time.
Yeah, climate change, man. We don't got a lot of time to fix that.
It's time to pull our goalie and go.
Exactly.
We've been watching the Stanley Cup playoffs.
Yes.
My household roots for the just knocked out Philadelphia Flyers. So now we're going for my preferred team, the Dallas Stars.
Hell yeah, it's my team too. I don't actually watch. I take a nap while Kyle watches.
So those are the utopian communities, socialists, anarchists, trying to start communes and struggling.
Nobody's perfect.
Yeah, now let's get to the actual political parties and
all right,
groups and stuff like that. A ton of this is going to come from a book called The Working Men's Party of the United States, A History of the First Marxist Party in the Americas.
That sounds, like the episode title.
This is by Philip S. Foner. He's a prominent labor historian, and we'll start in 1857 when a very cool club opened up in New York.
Okay. What was it?
It was called the Communist Club.
That sounds great. I would love to go there.
Yeah, the Communist Club of New York, or the New York Communist Club. I guess they were flexible with the name.
That's fine.
They were founded in 1857. It's the first Marxist organization in the Western Hemisphere.
That's awesome.
They were kind of nerds, like, middle class activist people.
Okay.
For the most part. But they were very politically interested. They were particularly all about the abolitionist struggle. It was 1857, so they're...
Oh, yeah, that would be the time.
They had in their kind of club rules, we recognize no distinction as to nationality or race, caste or status, color or sex. Our goal is but reconciliation of all human interests, freedom and happiness for mankind, and the realization and unification of a world republic.
Fuck yeah. Listeners, you can't see this, but I'm bobbing my head like this is a bop.
Yeah, they were cool. They eventually branched out to Chicago and Cincinnati. So by 1858, they kind of had multiple branches and stuff. If you're wondering, where the hell did we get all these communists from? Why are they pouring into America all of a sudden or sprouting up all over here in the place? Like, we had communists in America since before the Civil War. So there you go.
Yeah, that's fucking awesome.
Next up, we have, sorry that this is just going to kind of go breakneck pace, sort of.
Yeah.
All these.
We're doing an overview.
We'll get a little bit into each one, but yeah, it's an overview. So in 1864, a group was established in London that ends up having a big impact on America. It's called the International Working Men's Association.
Okay.
Also called the First International.
Classy.
It's a federation, basically, a meeting of groups. Left-wing, socialist, communist, anarchist, unions, just workers' groups, all these, they get together and talk about like their plans for spreading worker class consciousness, for growing unions, for planning for a revolution or reform, and for arguing a bunch.
Sounds like it. That's a big tent.
Definitely did a lot of arguing. Yeah. That was in 1864. It starts in London and they kind of meet throughout the successive years. It takes a lot longer, I guess, to travel and to correspond and everything back then. They eventually break up, the First International does, in 1872, when the two main factions, the anarchists and the socialists,
those two,
the black and the red faction is how they termed themselves, they split up.
Mark can never get along.
Yeah, no, like Marx played a role in this directly. Like he was there in the Congress, like arguing about shit. He was obviously leading the socialist and communist side.
Yeah.
And a guy named Mikhail Bakunin was the main leader and orator for the anarchist side. And one of their congresses, he couldn't make it. His side, ends up losing the proceedings and they get expelled. And so they end up splitting. Yeah.
Oh, okay. That sucks.
It's like some drama, pretty much.
It sounds a little messy.
reading about this stuff is very annoying because you're really trying to come away with stuff that people care about. And what people really don't care about is infighting in leftist organizations.
Yeah, that's just a little soap opera.
Yeah, but to these people, it's like the most important thing that can possibly be happening at that moment.
Yeah, yeah. It's like, did you hear what that fucker said about me?
Yeah, and I guess I get it because it's we all fall into this. There's very important things happening in our world and in our own lives that we really allow ourselves to get sidetracked from by things that seem very like, I've got to fix this. This person posted something bad about me. When really there are bigger things to worry about.
Yeah, geez, that
That's
sucks.
been going on for a long time, apparently. But yeah, they end up breaking up. It's important, though. The group is important because it does do some important work in terms of advancing labor issues, defending and expanding unions, fighting for the 8-hour workday.
Fuck yeah.
It leads to the growth of leftism in the United States because they start founding like groups that are called sections of the First International.
Okay.
So like Section 1, Section 2, Section 3 in the United States.
Cool.
They're like local branches.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah. I was wondering how it would relate back to the States. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the first one of those in America, Section 1, was the Communist Club of New York.
Those guys.
Yeah, they get rewarded for being the OG.
Nice.
Ultimately, around 5,000 people become official members of the International Working Men's Association in the United States. There's not like official, this is from historians looking back and trying to estimate it because they just didn't keep very good records.
They weren't nerds.
And some of these guys, and another reason it's important is that some of these guys who first get involved here go on to be involved in the main political parties that we're going to be talking about.
Cool.
This is kind of a forerunner to that.
So what did these organizations like? So you talk about them fighting for certain things. Mm-hmm. Was that their main thing, or was there just like a lot of like talking about theory and shit, or like what did they do? At the meetings? Yeah. What were these meetings like, you think?
At the meetings, they were kind of planning sessions and talking about shit.
Okay.
For the most part. They would decide like, what do we think we should do? Should we try to, for instance, the Paris Commune comes up during this time in 1871, where the people of Paris rise up and say, we're an autonomous commune now.
It's cool as fuck.
It's crazy. Marx spent a ton of time talking about these guys and analyzing it and everything. It's crazy. And so they were talking like, well, what should we do? What should we do about these guys? Should we endorse them? Should we go help them? What are we doing? Are they correct? That sort of thing. And a lot of argument about that or various things that are going on. This union over here in this country, should we help them out? Are they actually just assholes? Like, what should we do?
Okay. So just kind of figuring out how to react.
Kind of a lot of debate. Yeah, how to react, what to advance, like what sort of political strategies to follow in different countries. Like the London guys would show up and be like, okay, so we're doing this and there's these things we want to try to, we want to try to fight for fewer hours here, but we don't know, that sort of thing.
Okay, cool.
You can imagine it's very unruly and chaotic.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot to keep track of.
Yeah, it's like all over the world, way different conditions. I mean, in the US even, between regions of it. So like
yeah. And just like communication back then was not as easy. You gotta like send letters and shit.
Yep. It was wild. So they end up, breaking up. It just doesn't work.
Yeah, that sounds like a pain in the ass. I would not want to go to those meetings. They sound like they'd be really long and confusing.
Yeah, and hot. Like you don't have air conditioning or anything. You're in a 3-piece suit probably.
Probably, yeah. Oh no.
So then we get to the first political party.
Okay.
And not organization, but the first political party in the United States that is like Marxist, socialist, that sort of thing.
Cool.
January 1874. You have two political parties that start kind of at the same time called the Working Men's Party of Illinois.
Okay.
And the Social Democratic Working Men's Party of North America.
Good job.
Not great names overall.
Yeah, a little long.
The first one's based in Chicago. The second one's based in New York City. The background to this is the Panic of 1873.
I think we learned about that before.
You would think so, but it was the Panic of 1893.
Damn it.
And how does this work? Well, basically, the panics just happen in cycles,
Okay, yeah.
just like we still do.
Cool.
We just call them recessions.
Yeah, like bubbles, right?
Yeah, it's the same pattern, though. And when you're wondering what caused that, well, it was speculation that
Cool.
eventually burst. There were runs on the bank. All the credit dried up. Businesses started cutting jobs. The unemployment.
Sounds familiar.
It's like it's built to happen that way.
Oh, I love it. Why does this keep happening?
So you have mass meetings of the unemployed
Okay.
in big cities like Chicago and New York, and that's where these groups come out of. And this is not like out of the blue. This is because of the hard work of labor organizing and everything that had been going, that groups backed by the First International had been doing. You know, that fruitless work of trying to spread and build those labor unions and everything that doesn't pay off. Mm-hmm. You don't really see anything happen. You don't win a presidential election. You don't even get out of the primary, whatever. Like, you don't really see the fruits of it until now when you've got, you know, actual labor consciousness and stuff. The ground was at that point ripe for forming an actual political party to demand that the government provide work for these workers.
Yeah.
They might not have been in a place where they were able to, where they were ready to kind of actually make that demand. They might not have been able to conceive of that had they not been organizing.
They wouldn't have had that vocabulary maybe, or yeah, just had that idea. That's cool then. It wasn't all for nothing.
Yeah, for sure. The Illinois branch nominate, one of the things that I saw with them is that they nominated candidates for a local election, like a city council.
Okay.
And their group, the workers there that were out of work and stuff, they're mostly German immigrants. And so the wards that they're nominating council members for are mostly from German immigrant communities. They get completely, I mean, like, we thought the Democratic primary in Iowa was bad, the Iowa caucuses, like we thought that was rigged. They get completely voter frauded out of there, dude. Their, like, party membership, the people dedicated enough to sign up for the party and everything, the people that are going to go vote, right? They had like 2,500 party members. They find out that they only end up getting 785 votes.
Now,
and they're like, dude, we all voted. What do you mean?
How does that work?
But I mean, it's just not modern. It's not new.
Oh, God. Would they just throw out their ballots or what?
Probably, yeah. Just threw them in the river or whatever. Like,
set them on fire.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Light cigars with them. But that's just an example of kind of the early struggles that they faced. The parties in Illinois and New York kept agitating in labor movements and backing local strikes and stuff, getting involved with those. And eventually, in only like a couple years, they call a convention together between those parties and like other socialist and labor type groups that aren't really parties yet. And they call a convention together to try to form a national party.
Oh, yeah.
And that happens in July of 1876, where they found the Working Men's Party of the United States.
Nice. A little gendered, but that's okay.
It is a little gendered, yeah. And they used, I'm going to talk kind of about their party platform and stuff like that. And they use gendered language there too in terms of mankind and working man and stuff. But like,
as olden times, I'll give them a pass.
So this is the first Marxist political party at the national level in the United States.
Fuck yeah.
The next year, they end up changing their name to the Socialist Labor Party.
Also good. I like that.
It's there's an interesting side note that Foner talked about in his book when they were deciding on the name. Initially, they were going to do like the Socialist something party, and that got tossed out for the Working Men's Party because they were like, well, should we really put socialist in the name, you know? And one of the people at the meeting said, in any case, we will be called communist regardless of what name we adopt.
Oh my God, I feel that so hard.
You know?
Yeah.
This is a world where even Joe Biden can be called a communist. So
exactly, yeah. They will take anything, yeah. Oh my God, that's funny. Not a new problem.
Right, yeah. That's one of the things I love about looking back at this stuff is seeing, oh, damn. They went through this too.
Oh, man.
They had a cool first meeting where they talked about all the problems of capitalism and what they were going to try to do to fix it.
Cool.
And I kind of wanted to read some of their indictment of capitalism here.
Do it.
And see how much of these problems we are still plagued with today.
Oh, shit.
They say the present system has enabled capitalists to make laws in their own interests to the injury and oppression of the workers.
Mm-hmm. We got that one.
It has made the name democracy a mockery and a shadow.
For sure,
by giving to property an unproportionate amount of representation and control over legislation.
Yeah.
It's allowed capitalists to trample upon the rights of American citizens by dispersing and shooting down the working people when they have peaceably assembled together to discuss their wrongs and the means of redress.
For sure.
It's allowed capitalists to rob humanity of the benefits of progress by using labor-saving machinery to still further enslave us instead of reducing the hours of labor.
Mm-hmm.
And it's prevented humanity from fulfilling their natural destinies on Earth, crushed out ambition, prevented marriages or caused false and unnatural ones, has shortened human life, destroyed morals and fostered crime, corrupted judges, ministers, and statesmen, and made life a selfish, merciless struggle for existence, instead of a noble and generous struggle for perfection, in which equal advantages should be given to all, and human lives relieved from an unnatural and degrading competition for bread.
Damn, dude. Yeah, we are still doing all those things. Fuck.
These guys, it was clear to them in the 1870s.
Man, you know that meme where they show like a space society?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, and it's like the world if...
Yeah, that would be us if we had gotten our shit together back then.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Their platform was the 8-hour workday.
Nice.
With legal punishments for violators of that.
Cool.
Sanitary workplaces, food, and housing.
Cool.
They had complicated ways to name all of these. These are just the summarized versions of those platform planks.
Okay.
No using prison labor by private employers.
Fuck yes.
No child labor.
Yeah.
We would have to improve their standards a little bit because they said no child under 14. So,
oh, okay, yeah. Low bar.
But yeah, we're 1870s again. Free education.
Nice.
Employers liable for all accidents to employees.
Good.
Free courts.
Cool.
Union organizing rights. They wanted to nationalize the railroads, communications, and all forms of transportation.
Ugh. Yes.
And they wanted to nationalize most industry and operate them via unions for the people.
Fuck yeah.
The Working Men's Party of the United States, soon to be the Socialist Labor Party.
It's a big old check mark. Fuck yeah.
How popular do you think these guys were?
Oh, probably, I would say not very. I don't know. Wait, what year was it again?
1876.
Shit, I don't know anything about that time.
Yeah, not very is a pretty good assessment, but they do have some strange successes.
Okay. Who's president then, just for reference? That just helps me figure out what year it is in a different way. I don't know.
In 1876, it would be Ulysses S. Grant.
Really? Oh, okay.
Ulysses S. Grant till 1877 when he leaves office for Rutherford B. Hayes.
Ugh, okay.
So when they change their name, Hayes is probably in office by then. So
Okay.
right after Reconstruction.
Okay, yeah. That helps some.
Yeah.
Listeners, we grew up with a presidential placemat, so that's how I mark time.
Yeah, there you go. Strangely, though, the Socialist Labor Party was popular enough in 1878 that they nominated 7 candidates to a state legislature.
That's a lot.
And they got 5 of them elected to the state legislature. Christine, you get to guess the state. And I guarantee you, you will never guess the state. Or at least you won't get it on the first guess.
Was Wyoming a state?
I think at the time it may have only been a territory.
Okay, never mind. What about West Virginia?
It's a pretty good guess.
Yeah?
But it's not West Virginia.
Okay, what is it?
Home of humanoid turtle Mitch McConnell Kentucky had 5 members of its state legislature as members of the Socialist Labor Party.
Wow, good job, Kentucky.
Yeah.
Impressive.
Wild. So, they did have some success, I guess. They were involved with labor unions, including the Knights of Labor, who we've mentioned before.
Extremely cool name.
Yeah, that one's way better. Like, they should have done some consulting work for Josiah Warren and his time shop.
Eventual Patreon idea is to design a enamel Knights of Labor pin.
Hey, I don't know if they already exist or something.
They probably have merch.
The Socialist Labor Party also was heavily influenced, like starting in 1890 and going forward, by a guy named Daniel DeLeon.
Okay.
Or DeLeon.
What's his deal?
He joined the party in 1890, and he was all about pursuing power within labor unions, but also political power. Like, at the same time was his thing, was that we should, how oftentimes we're like, why don't we do both, sort of, with different things? Like, both can be true. He was kind of like that with, should we pursue political goals or labor union goals? He was like, yeah.
Porque no estos.
Yeah.
Okay. Nice.
He apparently was, like, personally kind of an asshole. Like, a lot of times
Okay.
people kind of, he rubbed people the wrong way.
Not a popular dude.
He could get really worked up about stuff and piss people off, basically. But he was, I found this interesting, he was name dropped by Lenin.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, it's a pretty, Americans don't really know about this guy, so it's weird that he would be that well known to Lenin. In 1922, Lenin said, "What we have done in Russia is accept the De Leon interpretation of Marxism." That's what the Bolsheviks adopted in 1917. So he's like,
oh,
we did what you did, basically.
Referencing.
Thanks.
Okay. That's pretty famous.
And that was quoted by a journalist, so maybe they were trying to, like, make De Leon look like an asshole or something, because it was an American journalist, so I guess that's a possibility. I like to think that Lenin was just, thought he was cool.
Yeah, just name dropping him.
Yeah. De Leon's like, thanks, no problem.
Feel free to borrow from my work anytime.
Yeah. Just attribute me.
I do it for my fans.
So yeah, we said the Socialist Labor Party, they never really do well electorally at the state or national level, past a few little places here or there, that they have limited success, and they still do technically exist.
Okay. What are they called today? The same thing, or?
The Socialist Labor Party, yeah.
I mean, why move from a classic?
Their claim to fame is we're the oldest socialist party in the United States.
Nice.
But they haven't run someone for president since 1976.
Whoops.
They don't really run very many, electorally, very many people overall across anywhere.
Shit.
They're a very small party now,
Okay.
but they still exist.
Like small, like how small?
Wow.
How small is it?
This may have changed, but they basically, on the Wikipedia article anyway, they were talking about like the trouble that they have publishing a newspaper and a thing and whatever. And so they keep like lengthening the amount of time, like monthly to bi-monthly, whatever.
Oh no.
Going online, publishing quarterly.
That's slow decline.
As of January 2007, the party had 77 members at large.
That's nothing.
As well as 7 sections, of which 4 held meetings with an average attendance of 3 to 6 members.
I feel like we might have had 77 listeners.
Yeah, they closed their national office in September 1st, 2008.
Oh.
But they still like exist, I guess. They just are very...
I was not expecting that small. I thought it was going to be like a few thousand. Be like, oh, that's still
Right?
respectable.
Yeah, but no, they're kind of a has-been.
Oh, tragic.
If you're a member of the Socialist Labor Party of America, though, and you want to answer some questions for us, or,
Yeah, come on and pitch them.
yeah, or send us an email, we'll gladly talk about it.
Yeah, we'll hype you up.
So yeah, that's the oldest Marxist party in the United States,
Okay.
the Socialist Labor Party, 1876. Moving on from there, you have the founding of the Social Democracy of America.
Okay.
1897, Grover Cleveland was president.
That guy.
And so some background for the founding of the Social Democracy of America. It's founded by a guy named Eugene V. Debs.
I've heard of him.
Yeah, Eugene Debs is Bernie Sanders' hero.
Oh, okay.
He's like, he kind of idolizes the guy. He was a socialist, politician, social activist person in the 1890s, 1900s, 1920, all the way through there. So Eugene Debs was the founder of that. And the background to this is a labor action called the Pullman Strike.
Okay.
When the American Railway Union went on strike against the Pullman Rail Company, and it shut down rail traffic across America, everywhere west of Detroit. Basically, it was just shut down for months, from May 11th to July 20th, 1894.
Nice.
Basically, basically the company, which had billed itself as like, we're nice, responsible capitalists, we
because that's a thing.
We run a company town. Everyone's taken care of.
I'm sure.
They're paying well. They get good housing. All this stuff, right?
Was taken care of in quotes.
It should have been like they kind of meant it / carried it out for a little while, but when economic problems came to pass, they laid off a bunch of workers.
Classic.
They cut wages for the workers who were still there. But they, run these company towns and they did not reduce rent or utilities at all.
Oh, good.
So everybody's like, what the hell? I'm going to be thrown out in the street. And so Eugene Debs, who was the leader of the American Railway Union, helped these guys out when they went out on strike. He was like, this union is going to support you, blah, blah, blah. He helps them through that strike. He's actually a little reluctant to do it at first. He's like, guys, come on, this is going to be really dangerous. We're, everything bad is going to happen pretty much if we do this. And they were like, fuck it, we're going on strike anyway. So he joined them.
Fuck yeah.
It ends up pretty disastrously.
Oh, man, he was right.
The president, Grover Cleveland, sends in federal troops to mow down the strikers. 30 of them are killed. 57 of them are wounded. Debs gets thrown in jail, where he becomes radicalized. He becomes a socialist.
Nice.
Previously, like he's kind of an interesting upbringing. He's like middle class. He's like the son of a grocer, works there and everything, goes to work on the railroad. He's like in the unions there, but he's just kind of a moderate, like, let's try to get better pay, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
It's only in these strikes and getting thrown in jail and everything that he's like, this is fucked up,
Yeah. Is Grover Cleveland the one that got elected twice, or is that Taft? I mix them up because they both have the mustaches.
You mean twice, but non-consecutively, right?
Yes.
Yes, that's Grover Cleveland.
Okay, yeah, because in our placement, they just flipped his portrait.
They had him facing that way and then facing that way. It's like,
I love
this
it.
guy, I think this guy's the same.
Like, we wouldn't notice.
What if he was like, he had different facial hair or something? Had a different
that'd be
tie on,
great. He just changed clothes.
wearing glasses. I'm Grover Cleveland. That's Grover Cleveland.
It's spelled differently. Yeah.
Anyway, after that experience and getting converted to socialism and everything, Eugene Debs got the American Railway Union to join up with a bunch of other socialist groups to form the Social Democracy of America.
Okay.
And so that was this political party, and it's kind of short-lived before it splits up. They quickly get into an argument over whether they're going to set up socialist colonies out in various places, like
like utopian.
or if they're going to try to win power through elections and get people in office and change things that way. They hold a big vote. The colony guys win. And the people who lost the vote, Debs among them, they're like, fuck it, we'll go start our own party.
Okay. Cool.
The colonies thing does not really work out well. They try that. And of course, after a while it fails.
Classic. Yeah, we already tried that, guys. It didn't work.
But the ones who wanted to do the political thing, they literally go to the hotel across the street.
It's a little petty.
And they found their political party there. Yeah.
Oh, I love it. Do you think they like played music really loudly and like put a bunch of signs up, just to rub it in their faces?
We're way cooler. We're called the Social Democratic Party of America. That was what they called.
They kind of ripped the name too.
Yeah.
It's a little petty.
To be fair, Deb's like, he tried to start that initial one and then they stole it from him with their colony ideas.
Like if you're having a board game night and you want to play a specific game, but then someone brings a new game and you're like, oh, damn it.
And everyone's like, oh, I love this game. And then you have to play, what would be a board game like that? What board game do you not like? Besides Monopoly, which no one likes.
No one likes Monopoly, except for psychopaths. Probably like Risk. Probably Risk.
Risk.
It's just too hard and too long.
Risk can take too long, but it's kind of fun. But it kind of takes too long.
This is controversial. Catan is okay, but I feel like I get bored with it.
Yeah.
I just want to be too nice. That's the problem.
When people trade, you're like, I guess that will help you out. Sure. Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just like, what's an equal trade for us? Like, yeah.
All right. Moving on from Risk.
Back to the new party.
The Social Democratic Party. Yeah. 1898 is when that happens. That's when they had that fateful meeting. They, say we're going to fight for socialism. We're going to, they define that as the collective ownership of the means of production for the common good and welfare of the people. They basically say that's what they're going to fight for. And they're kind of prominent nationwide, too. They run Eugene Debs as their candidate for president in 1900 when he gets 87,000 votes. 0.63% of the popular vote there. Not a ton.
No, not a lot.
It sounds kind of impressive. Oh, 87,000. That's a city.
It's just because I don't know the population. Then I'm like, I don't know. It was olden times.
Yeah.
Could have been a lot.
Is that a lot? Yeah, no. Not that much.
No.
And the Social Democratic Party, while prominent, is not really around for that long.
Oh.
Because they merge with other groups to become a bigger, more powerful party.
Oh, okay. That's fine then.
Yeah, it's in 1901 that they merge with some disaffected members from the Socialist Labor Party, which we talked about before.
Yeah.
And they merge into the Socialist Party of America.
Okay.
And this is a very big tent. As far as the left end of the spectrum goes, it's a big tent kind of party.
Who's all in that tent?
Well, you have people who are more reformist-minded, more revolutionary-minded, more involved with trade unionists versus more like, it's all about getting elected, all sorts of different groups, and people coming originally from different, the SLP versus the old Social Democratic Party. Like, you have different people in different ends of that. You also, unfortunately, had people coming from different ends of, opinions about racism, race policy, or whatever.
Man.
Yeah, you had some folks that were, not good. Like the Socialist Party of Louisiana, which sounds ridiculous.
It does.
They were not good on that. They supported segregation.
Oh, fuck.
They were like, no, black people should be able to vote, which I guess was good, but they were also like, they should be segregated, which was bad.
That's not good.
Yeah. But a lot of other states, they basically just didn't make we are the Socialist Party and this is our racial platform. The different states kept doing whatever they wanted to do.
Oh, fuck, guys.
But a lot of them did good shit that's surprising. Like the Socialist Party of Tennessee, another weird thing, said that white supremacist ideology was a tool of the capitalist class to divide and rule the working class.
Fuck yeah, it is.
The Socialist Party of Virginia passed a party resolution to focus more attention on encouraging solidarity between black and white workers.
Nice.
And to invite non-white workers to join the party.
That sounds good.
Yeah, they were doing positive stuff there.
There's some cool people in there. Okay, that's good.
One of the weirdest to me was the Socialist Party of, I'll give you it's not the same one as before or your previous guesses, but I'll give you another guess.
Texas.
No, close.
Oh, okay. Oklahoma?
Okay is right. Oklahoma, yeah.
There we go.
Oklahoma, the Socialist Party of Oklahoma.
Neat.
They led opposition to that state's ballot initiative in 1910, which was for a grandfather clause.
Okay, what does that mean?
Now, grandfather clause, typically, right, we think of that as just oh, the policy changed, so I get to still do the thing because I was already
Yeah,
there,
yeah.
right?
I used to work for a company where they didn't cover birth control for that reason. It was not good.
Yeah. The grandfather clause in this terms was about voting. And this was something that southern states used. And the way it worked was that they would put in a literacy test.
Oh, God.
A literacy test that was super hard.
Oh, good.
Right? Anybody who wasn't like a college professor of grammar or whatever, like, would fail this test. But if your grandfather had been eligible to vote,
That's so shitty.
then you were fine. You were good.
That's so shitty.
And so they just...
Effectively, blocked all black people. And that sucks. Oh, my God.
So there was a ballot initiative on that, like on putting that in place. And the Socialist Party of Oklahoma led the opposition to that.
Well, good job. Did it work?
And I believe they defeated it.
Oh, nice. Pleasantly surprised.
I was looking into them specifically in Oklahoma and just pulling some numbers on that because it was so surprising to me that they actually were pretty powerful in Oklahoma for a little while there.
Nice.
In 1912, Eugene Debs got 16% of the vote in Oklahoma. In 1914, they ran a candidate for governor named Fred Holt who got 20% of the vote.
Damn, okay.
Like, came really close, you know?
Showing up.
This is bizarre because this state went for Trump in 2016 like 65% to 28%.
Oklahoma's
And in
so
the 20s,
weird.
they were voting for socialists, you know?
That's pretty nuts.
What the heck? Or in the 1910s, I should say.
Yeah. Man, it's a weird state.
There apparently was like a socialist armed uprising in Oklahoma called the Green Corn Rebellion.
That sounds cool.
Well, it ends up bad. I mean, they get crushed and
Okay, didn't end up cool.
and then the Socialist Party like becomes anathema in Oklahoma. Everybody's just like, fuck you guys, you know, after that.
That sucks.
But yeah, I was just like, man, I've never heard of a socialist insurrection.
In Oklahoma, that's awesome. That's pretty nuts.
Very surprising thing for me to learn there. But that's all part of the Socialist Party of America. Some other big players, I guess, that they had was a guy named Victor Berger. He spelled it Berger, not like a hamburger, but like...
Like Burgermeister, Meisterburger.
Yeah. And he was the first socialist to serve in the U.S. Congress.
Oh, okay.
He was one of the founders of the party, and he gets sent to Congress in an election in 1910, Wisconsin's 5th Congressional District.
Good job, Wisconsin.
Yeah, they sent a socialist to Congress in 1910.
House or Senate? Which one?
In the House.
Okay.
And he supported eliminating the presidential veto,
Nice.
abolishing the Senate.
Also good.
He also supported nationalizing major industries,
Yeah.
and he supported an old age pension bill.
Okay.
Because this is 1910. This is before like Social Security or anything.
Yeah.
He's interesting because he gets arrested later on in 1918. Gets arrested for criticizing World War I.
Oh, yeah, you could do that back then, huh? I think you can still do it now.
Yeah, that's the Espionage Act, the part that like is still, they can still do stuff to you for that.
Yeah, that sucks. Cool.
They arrested him, they convicted him, they said they were going to lock him up for 20 years. And he got that overturned on an appeal. But while he was indicted for that crime, he was elected, he was like reelected to his seat anyway.
Okay, so he's popular.
Milwaukee was specifically where he was from. And they elected him to Congress, and Congress was like, this dude is indicted for, betraying his country, blah, blah, blah. So they refused to seat him. So they held a special election. They're like, we got to figure out something else to do, right?
Yeah.
And he won again.
That's fantastic.
They were just, Milwaukee just gave him the finger, and they were just like, no, we're sending this guy.
I really like this guy. I love that. Too popular.
Congress, they refused to seat him again.
Oh my God, Congress. Figure it out.
And they didn't even let him hold a special election. They left the seat vacant for a year until a Republican won the seat.
Oh my God.
Yeah, assholes.
Classy move.
And later, he ends up winning that seat back from that guy again and wins like 3 more re-elections.
Fuck yeah.
He's just like super popular. He was part of a movement called the Sewer Socialists.
Okay, what the fuck is that?
So it's not a real political party, but it's like if we were to call someone like a blue dog Democrat or like a
okay.
I don't know, like a moderate Democrat or whatever. It's like a
subsection, like the Tea Party maybe, or
or never Trumpers or something, you know. So the Sewer Socialists were originally people were making fun of them and calling them sewer socialists, but they were very practical minded, and so they were like, we're socialists, but we're all about like we're gonna fix shit.
So reformists.
I guess they were mainly reformist in what they. In their big picture, but they weren't very big picture. They were like, elect me and I'm going to fix your streets. I'm going to make sure your sewage system works. I'm going to make sure that things are good for you in your city. Very practical, direct stuff. I'm just also a socialist.
Yeah, so like more like infrastructure maybe a little wonky. Were they kind of wonky?
No, I wouldn't characterize them so much as wonky as much as like public works or...
Yeah, well, that's awesome.
Like getting stuff done for, like concrete stuff done for people rather than saying... Like, while he did also say, I oppose the presidential veto or I want to abolish the Senate, he also was like, I want to get these things specifically fixed in our city. Yeah.
Yeah, less abstract. That's cool. Because, I mean, I think infrastructure obviously is a huge fucking problem in the States. So, like, and it's not seen as a very cool and sexy topic, but we fucking need people who care about that.
Yeah, and that's why people were deriding them as the sewer socialists, because they were like, you guys are just like, it was kind of calling them like small potatoes or something, like you guys are not really
too focused.
But he was like, oh, fuck it, I mean Milwaukee likes it, they're sending me repeatedly. That's I think one of the reasons he was so popular. It was Victor Berger. He's not all good, he was kind of like racist.
Oh god dang it.
Besides that, he was like pretty
that
good.
Sucks. Okay,
it was like good besides that, and that was I mean that's really bad, so
yeah that is a bad one.
Then we talked a little bit about Debs already and his kind of background. And he was the Socialist Party of America's presidential candidate.
Okay.
He gets 6% of the popular vote in 1912 as a socialist.
I mean, not terrible.
Not really, no. I mean...
Considering.
All right, 2016? Let's see what third parties pulled down there. Libertarian Party, 3%.
Okay, so they did better than them.
Green Party, 1%. Yeah, way better. Way better than both of those combined. That was the Socialist Party in 1912. And in 1920, while literally in prison, he got more than 900,000 votes.
That's awesome.
It's slightly, I think it's like 5-point-something%, but like it's still in the area of that.
Still pretty good, considering.
When he is actually in prison... He was in prison the similar reason as Berger got thrown into prison and Emma Goldman got deported, was opposition to World War I.
Cool law we have.
Yeah, the normal country. It's one of my favorite refrains these days.
Yeah, totally fine.
He was arrested for telling a crowd in a speech, "They tell us that we live in a great free republic, that our institutions are democratic, that we are a free and self-governing people. That is too much even for a joke. Wars throughout history have been waged for conquest and plunder, and that is war in a nutshell.
Fucking yeah.
The master class has always declared the wars, the subject class has always fought the battles."
That's fucking right on the nose.
Yep, and it was so right on the nose that they tossed him into jail.
They did not like it. Oh, man.
When they brought him to trial, he told the jury, "I've been accused of obstructing the war. I admit it. Gentlemen, I abhor war. I would oppose war if I stood alone. I have sympathy with the suffering, struggling people everywhere. It does not make any difference under what flag they were born or where they live."
Fuck yeah.
He was super cool in that trial. He like just doesn't offer a defense. He's just like, "You guys suck. This law sucks." Like,
yeah, like Emma did.
So they were like, "Well, fine, we're convicting you." They convicted him, found him guilty. You know, the judge was going to sentence him, and they let him give a address to the court and the jury and the judge or whatever. There's a quote from him in that is like one of my favorite. I'm just like, damn, this is like me. Like, this is my my political creed. My political creed.
I don't know the difference.
it's the main thing that I hold to.
Creed's fine. Mantra.
My mantra. Yeah. It's like one of my favorite quotes of it. He says, Your Honor, years ago, I recognized my kinship with all living beings. And I made up my mind that I was not one bit better than the meanest on earth. I said then, and I say now, that while there is a lower class, I am in it. While there is a criminal element, I am of it. And while there is a soul in prison, I am not free.
That's so nice.
Yeah, I'm like,
That's very good.
It's part of a kind of a grander speech that he gives about how socialism is coming like the rising sun and will bring about a new dawn of people and everything. But
fuck yeah, it is.
But that's always the part that I'm like,
yeah, that's so nice.
Because, I guess he kind of recognizes like he's not really in all the situations that people are in, but he is still fighting.
He's fighting for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he gets thrown in jail. Woodrow Wilson repeatedly refused to pardon him because he's a dick.
Of course he is.
So yeah, that kind of is the beginning of the Socialist Party of America. They stick around for a lot longer till like 1972 is when they finally break up in a few different directions.
Okay.
And we'll kind of mention them some when we explore the later half of Socialist Party histories and stuff, or leftist parties. That kind of wraps up where we get to with the early parties.
Cool. Wait, was Debs racist?
No, Debs was not racist.
Okay,
Debs,
good. We can still like Debs.
He originally put in their first meeting and stuff in the Socialist Party when they were founding that and all. Mm-hmm. He supported a plank that was for equal rights for all human beings without distinction of color, race, or sex.
Fuck yeah.
But that's got opposed or like watered down or like just kind of, they were like, no, we don't need to have it. And that's where we were talking about like all the states had their own stupid shit.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But Debs was on record as being in favor of racial equality.
Nice.
So he was good. Berger, problematic.
Yeah, problematic. Okay.
Popular, but problematic. Debs, also popular, just not as problematic.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So that's where we end up.
All right. I'm trying to think if I have any questions. I'm looking over my notes because I was a big nerd and took notes. So yeah, I asked kind of a similar question with one of the earlier groups. So as far as the Socialist Party, it sounds like they were a little more focused on like electoral stuff. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that is. They had, like I said, they had different factions and groups within sort of who identify different ways. And so some people would be like more involved with trade union activities and stuff. I think that generally everyone there would have found there would have been pro-union.
Yeah, yeah.
But you had kind of a spectrum to where like on the far end you would have people who say we need to take electoral office, change things. Unions can kind of barely fix things for the workers currently, but they're not going to actually do any political good.
Yeah, yeah. So it was kind of just a shift of where their focus was.
Yeah, because like the far other end would be like, we need to use elections to show people that we're cool and that capitalism sucks. But where we're really going to make change is labor union agitation and direct action.
Yeah. So I know we talked about in terms of like how many votes these people would get, how popular they were, but like, do they have numbers for how popular they were in that term? But I mean, like in terms of membership, like how many people did they have around that time?
For the Socialist Party?
Yes.
When do you want? Like the peak?
Yeah, sure.
Let's see. 1912, they have 118,000 members.
Okay, that's pretty good.
That's the peak.
Okay.
What other questions do you have?
I think I'm good. I feel like I didn't contribute much today.
No, I mean, it was kind of a research one. Which one was your favorite and your least favorite?
Okay, my favorite. Oh gosh.
You can do favorite and least favorite party or person, excluding like the bad guys.
Yeah,
like
obviously I'm not going to pick a bad guy.
Woodrow Wilson, he was cool. No.
Yeah, Woodrow Wilson was my favorite. I think I liked the New York Commie Club. They sounded pretty cool.
Yeah, and they were first. Like,
yeah,
that's impressive that they were doing that in 1857.
Yeah, didn't they? They had a pretty progressive like platform too, right?
Yeah, no distinction for nationality or race.
Yeah,
or
fuck yeah.
Sex.
Yeah, I liked them. I mean, Deb sounds cool as fuck. I think it's interesting that he was so like practical minded. I guess that was more Berger or whatever. But I think that's interesting that kind of took off here. I wonder if that's an American thing or what? Because I'm curious as to like what those London socialists were doing and other places,
I find that interesting too, because like you said, with the practical application of it, it's like what we were looking at in the primary and stuff, with Bernie's proposals and things always polling really well.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, damn, yeah, I do want Medicare for all. I do want free college. I do want this stuff. But when you tell them like, oh, cool, well, that's socialist. And they're like, well, I don't know if it should be that extreme.
Yeah, it's kind of sucks. It feels like I don't remember who, but you're talking about that guy that was like, well, they're going to call us communists anyway. And it's like, well, which one do we do? Do we just admit that those are policies are kind of socialist, or do we just like try to hide it? Like, it just seems fucking, it's frustrating that we even have to have these conversations,
I agree. I think, I guess this is a De Leon approach to it, but I would say we should do both.
Yeah.
There should be some people out there that are saying, look, communism isn't that bad. Mm-hmm. Socialism isn't that bad. It's cool and it can do good stuff and we should do it.
Yeah.
And try to convert people to that. Meanwhile, have people who are out there saying, we're going to do Americanism and it's going to be good and we're going to help people.
Yeah,
You like people, right? We're going to help people.
Just talk about the benefits of it. Yeah.
Yeah, FDR style, social democracy. Mm-hmm. We're going to improve things for the people who need it. We're going to, who need help. We're going to help them. And we're going to make life better for everybody. And sure, yeah, some people might call what we're doing socialist and communist, but really, this is Americanism, And
yeah, don't worry about it. Just follow me.
Yeah, because some people, unfortunately, they just need that.
Yeah.
They will never come around to, or they might.
Some people.
But it'll be very hard to get them around.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting that, like, similar to how we are today, these groups tended to fracture a lot and they were very big tents. Like if you look at DSA, like there's all kinds of folks in there, there's anarchists and there's, electoralists and all that. And so it is very hard to run such a big platform like that. And I don't know, I thought that was interesting that continues to be an issue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It was going on then. Man, when we cover the second part of this, it's going to be just as bad or worse. There are so many different, and we're not going to cover them all. We're just not.
Yeah.
There are too many of them.
There's no way.
There's a sect for every different stripe, and then usually there ends up being two because one of them got mad at the other.
Everyone's messy.
I guess, yeah, you're right. It is good too, but like relieving to see that it's
yeah, it's not just us. We're not just like stupid and we can't figure it out. Like people have been trying this for a long time.
Yeah, for sure.
I like too that common thread of whenever there's like an economic downturn, people seem to turn to these ideas. Like every single panic that they had, and now every single depression that you have, there is going to be that reaction. And I feel like that's like we were talking about utopian versus materialist, and like that seems to be a point in the materialist favor.
Yeah. Because in between, it's easy to kind of buy the explanation of capitalism that like, well, we do these things and your boss isn't the nicest person and you have to struggle and stuff. But like, ultimately, things work out and you're okay.
You can make it. It'll be okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, you're living in a house, you have food, you have a job that pays you money, and you have a little bit of extra money that you can spend. Mm-hmm. It's not that bad. It's okay. It's fine. You wouldn't want to lose all that, would you? And then when you lose all that.
And then you do.
Then you're like, hey, fucker, like.
That didn't work.
Yeah. You were lying. And then they're like, yeah, but I needed you to work for me.
Yeah. I mean, I think what ends up happening is that even when capitalism is quote unquote going well, if we're in one of our boom periods, like someone is still suffering there. It's just whenever we have those downturns, it's like more people are suffering, so more people are angry about it.
Yeah, the numbers swell.
Yeah.
And people who were all along saying that this wasn't fair find a bunch of new converts to that because now a bunch of people have been put in their like, where, like you were saying, put in their situation where they've been all along.
Yeah, it's just kind of interesting to see these similar patterns, I guess.
I think we're right now, we're trying to figure out whether we're really going to be in a prolonged bad period or if we're just going to come back, like for a while there, it seemed like, holy shit, everybody's been thrown into economic disaster. We could have a big movement happen.
Yeah, yeah.
And now we're trying to figure out if that's really going to be the case or if they're going to, magic their way out of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's why there was such a big fucking push to reopen stuff, because they can't just have a bajillion people unemployed and angry.
Yeah, because when they start big mass meetings of unemployed people, you end up with shit like the Working Men's Party and the Socialist Labor Party. Like that's how you get that shit.
Yeah, for sure. They have to keep us all in our wage slavery.
or the panics and stuff. If you have people going out on strike because you're throwing them out of their houses, and you shut down, you have a strike that's big enough to shut down the nation's transportation network, you have to send in the troops and shit. You end up radicalizing people. You end up, starting a party that's going to take 15% of your vote.
Yeah, that's pretty nuts, dude.
They definitely have consequences, and I think you're right that they are trying to avoid those. Getting everybody back to work.
Back to the grind.
If 1 million people who would have been organizing against you die of a virus in the course of that, I don't think they're going to count that as too big of a loss.
No, I think they're going to be like, oh, thank God, we won't get mobbed by them.
Yeah.
Ugh.
It's...
Shit.
Like we were saying earlier, like if people don't do that, then it doesn't happen. We may be, I think we very may well be living in that alternate dark timeline of, well, we should have fixed things before.
Yeah. It definitely feels like, I don't know, like a carrot stick kind of thing of just like, oh, it's not that bad. Like every time it's like we get close enough to like, oh, maybe this will actually fucking change something. It's like, somehow someone pulls some levers and the quote unquote economy goes back up, or they just announce that it goes back up. And so I guess that's fine. Like,
oh yeah.
I think it's really like, we've talked about like the stock market before. Like that shit doesn't affect me. Like
it doesn't affect most people in terms of its minute movements. The only way it affects you is if the masters of the economy, what they determine based on it.
Yeah.
It's like the weather forecast for them, and if they decide to cut your job based on that, then it will affect you.
Yeah, it just all feels so just shadowy and just abstract.
All that is solid melts into air, as Marx said.
Oh, yeah. I like that. That's a lot better than what I said.
It's a crazy world, and it doesn't make sense, and it's not supposed to make sense. Because when it makes sense, you can figure your way out of it.
Shit.
Let's, on that bright note.
Yeah, shit.
We're going to do a little mini segment here that we'll sometimes do.
Yes. Hopefully not too much.
Hopefully, yeah, because it's when we fucked up.
It's called the Corrections Corner. Not in like a carceral way.
Oh, yeah. This is our Department of Corrections.
Yeah, no.
No, this is when we've said something incorrect. Or not said something in part of today's case. So we'll start with the saying something incorrect. I was vainly listening to
the Drunk Chomsky episode.
The drunk Chomsky one. That's right. Yeah. We were talking about American interventions throughout the world.
Yeah.
And I talked about Jacobo Arbenz. I talked about Salvador Allende. But I also talked about Iran erroneously. I said, I think the quote was knocking off the Shah of Iran. And I think I said that twice.
I think that
was just wrong. I had drunk wine in sufficient quantities. What I meant was knocking off their prime minister, Mohammad Mossadegh.
Oh.
Yeah, so that was a CIA operation involving a fellow named Kermit Roosevelt Jr.
What a name.
Yeah, this was Teddy Roosevelt's grandson.
Okay.
And he was in the OSS, which is the forerunner to the CIA, and then he was in CIA, and he was involved in fomenting a coup.
What's fomenting?
It's like riling up.
Okay.
He was riling up a coup in Iran in 1953. Shit. And they basically they pay off people, they give people guns, they get everything going. And this is with the approval of this is CIA op, this is the government doing it.
Ugh.
They get Mohammed Mossadegh overthrown because he was going to try to nationalize British petroleum.
Oh my God.
And, use the proceeds for Iran and stuff. God. So they got him overthrown, put in house arrest until he died.
Wow.
We then went on to back up the Shah of Iran, who we did not kill, but we were protecting.
Okay. Is this the guy whose wife bathed in milk?
Oh, wow. I don't know.
I mean, is this the guy from Argo is what I'm asking?
Yeah, the Shah, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And he, flees the country and goes to, Egypt in exile or something.
Okay.
But yeah, this Argo is about the Iranian Revolution, which we put things into motion that started it. Mm-hmm. We overthrow Mossadegh, right? And that lets the Shah hammer down. Now he doesn't have any sort of domestic opposition or anything. Shit. He can do what he wants, and he rules like a tyrant long enough to where people are like, fuck that, let's get rid of him. They have the Iranian Revolution and overthrow him, and he has to flee the country.
Shit. Okay.
But so that's the correction there, is that we didn't knock off the Shah. America liked the Shah, and they tried to help him. The guy that they knocked off was Mohammed Mossadegh in the Iranian coup d'etat in 1953.
Okay. We fixed it.
Yeah. Another correction comes from was pointed out to us in kind of a negative review, which for this specific criticism was deserved.
Yeah, this part. Yeah, the rest of it.
When we were doing our Russian Revolution episode, we covered some things and not others.
Yeah.
We left something out. When we talked about the Tsar and his family getting put under house arrest by the provisional government.
We didn't talk about what happened, I guess. The result.
Yeah, we forgot, basically. We just went on to the Civil War. Mm-hmm. And so we never addressed how that house arrest played out.
Not well is the answer. And I know this from Downton Abbey.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. When Branson's like, oh, but they did,
I can't believe they did that.
Yeah. He's all heartbroken.
Yeah.
Because he now has a problematic fave.
He does.
But yeah, so we didn't address the execution of the Tsar and his family.
Yeah, that was bad.
Yeah, they were hanging out in house arrest, biding their time. And even when the October Revolution rather happened, they were it'll probably, I don't know, that sounds worrying, but not a big deal. But eventually, they do, the Soviet government's no, we can't have this guy alive. He's a piece of shit. He's going to try to get out of here and go into exile and come back with an army or something,
Yeah.
And they just wanted to, they killed him. They executed him and his family.
That sucks.
Except for, of course, Anastasia, who escaped. I'm just kidding.
She did not escape, guys. Not real.
I guess, the least charitable interpretation you can give to that is revisionist history. But what actually happened was that we were just stupid and we forgot. Yeah.
There was a lot to cover in that episode. We were moving pretty fast.
They get themselves executed. July 1918, the Soviet government gets rid of them, executes them.
Whoops.
They're awakened at 2 a.m. They get dressed. They get led down into the half-basement room at the back of the Ipatiev house. They were saying, oh, we're going to move you because anti-Bolshevik forces are coming in and, there might be a fight and you guys might get hit. Mm-hmm. They get a firing squad together, waiting in a room nearby. They killed them.
That sucks.
The main guy announces to them that the Ural Soviet of Workers' Deputies had decided to execute them.
Damn.
Nicholas asks, What? What did you say? And he repeats the order, and Nicholas says, you know not what you do.
Like Jesus?
And then they draw their handguns and begin shooting.
Whoa. Kind of a power move to quote Jesus at that moment.
Everybody's got the last words they want to go down with, I guess.
I guess.
Now, this is just reported. I don't know who would have been there to report it. I guess a Soviet, because it's under Soviet control. And yeah, that's the whole family in there getting shot. So
it sucks.
Yeah, not good. That's another one in the category of bad.
Yeah, very bad. I'm not for that.
I guess that also gets lumped into the cruelties of the Civil War. No, because it is technically in that period. They're already fighting. It's all part of that is like they're fighting for survival, whatever. So they feel like, hey, maybe we got to execute a guy and his family.
I just looked it up. A dog survived. Alexi's spaniel, Joy. So they didn't kill the dog.
Well, I'm glad that the dog survived.
At least there's that.
But there you go. Our revisionist history fixed. Tsar and family executed.
Yeah, it sucks.
So yeah, anyway, apologies for that. Anyone who felt shortchanged by that, hopefully those are fixed now. And please feel free to let us know if we fall short of your standards in any way in the future.
Yeah, for sure. All right, next time we are going to... Well, you're starting school, so like I'm gonna do the research for next time.
Yeah, no, I'll be dealing with teacher stuff already in real life, so we'll turn the tables here, and I'll get to do a little studenting.
Take a break. Yes, so we're gonna learn about Russian constructivism.
All right, that is briefly. That's what they were doing in posters and stuff.
Yes, right. So basically, the graphic design aesthetic of Russia in the early 1900s.
Okay, cool.
Some cool shit. I'm probably going to have to figure out a way to share some images with our listeners. I might just end up posting them on Twitter or something, just so people can reference them and as they listen along.
Sounds good.
All right. Well, until then, you can find us on social media. We are on Twitter @teachcommunism. Instagram @teachmecommunism. If you want to send us an email, if you want to, ask us a question or give us a correction or a suggestion for a topic on a future episode, you can email us at teachmecommunism@gmail.com. We are also on YouTube if you prefer to listen to our episodes there. And we also have a Patreon, patreon.com/teachmecommunism. And that's where we upload our episode notes. Usually they're Grady's notes because he's very thorough. But sometimes I'll have notes for movies we watch and shit. And be sure to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, rate and review. I feel like more people are finding us and that's very exciting. So yeah, keep telling people about us. That's awesome.
All right. Well, thanks for being an awesome student as always.
Thanks for teaching me stuff.
Yeah. And listeners, you can catch us next week on another episode of Teach Me Communism, where the class struggle is always in session.
Smell you later.
Bye.